Derivative still.
There she is. There she is.
You are traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind, a journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. That's the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone. Hello and welcome to Indefinite Lunch in Infinite Combinations, number 161. And today, what we're doing is we're going to be exploring 2 episodes of season 2, Static and the Prime Mover. So, those are the episodes for today. Here are the slides for today. Here they are. See? Also, we got to move Rod. See you in a minute. And hello to also everybody who's joining me today. First, we have Gavin Blackburn. First again, Gavin rules supreme. And Scotty R37 echoes that. Gavin rules supreme in the Twilight Zone. And Gavin tells Scotty to be careful or into the cornfield with you. Oh yes, Bill Mooney wants a word, apparently. Entropy Manor says, well, I'm here. Will sadly be in and out, though. Work being what it is some days. Oh, work can be like that. How dare they actually want you to work? Ugh. Well, I hope it isn't too bad, Entropy Manor. Lemon Pie, hello. Will there be a poll also? Thank you, Lemon, for mentioning that. Thanks to you, there is a poll today. And hello to DJ Play Nice. Good afternoon. And DJ Play Nice wants you to know if you're in crisis where you can call or text. And it's right there in chat if you need it. DJ Play Nice says now's a good time to share out the show. Send it to a friend or post a bump on your own YouTube channel in the community tab. Yep, the community tab is great for sharing out your friends. That's true. Next stop, the Outer Limits. Well, it'd be a while if I did that. Although I like to mix it up, so it might be a while before I circle back around to the Outer Limits. Let's bring this back. It says somebody new entered the chat, and it's Lemon Pie. Hey, Lemon Pie, thank you for reminding me to put up the poll. And we're going to start with episode Static today. It first aired on March 10th, 1961. It was written by Charles Beaumont, but both of the episodes today are written by Charles Beaumont. And the interesting thing is, in both of them, they both have story by credits external to Charles Beaumont. This episode, Static, is based upon an unpublished story by O.C. Rich. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But first, I want to say hello, howdy, to Miss Sparkles. Yeah, Miss Sparkles is here. So, O.C. Rich was a friend of Charles Beaumont. It's a strange name because it's got the first 2 letters capitalized right before the double E. So O.C. Rich was a friend of Charles Beaumont. The idea for it came from a party given by Richard Matheson, attended by both Rich and a fan of old-time radio who performed bits of radio nostalgia. So this is this is from Mark Scott Zickery's The Twilight Zone Companion. At the time, Rich recalls, I think I said something like, "Hey man, wouldn't it be great if you could just tune into those old things?" So I went home and wrote a story called tune in yesterday. It was Chuck's suggestion that I make it into a Twilight Zone instead of submitting it as a short story. And they accepted it. So that's how this became an episode. And isn't that great? And this is the third assignment from Charles Beaumont that he's turned in under an agreement to do 5 episodes. That particular bit of information is from Unlocking the Door to a Television Classic by Grams Jr. Martin. And the episode was directed by Buzz Kulik. This is one of those videotaped episodes, but actually it's made in such a way that it doesn't hurt it. I don't think I would it doesn't bother me one bit that it's a videotape. Although maybe others are more sensitive to it. The companion also says of this episode, in anyone who mourns the demise of old radio shows and the advent of television, this story of a radio that receives Tommy Dorsey, Major Bowes, and Fred Allen must surely strike a responsive chord. So even though most of my listeners are between 35, 65, even you guys are too young to be all that nostalgic for this age of radio. But I could be wrong. Please let me know in the chat if you're somehow a fan of really old-timey radio, because I do know there are lots of YouTube channels that replay a lot of old-time radio stuff, and that might make some of us fans of it without realizing what we're enjoying. But there were plenty of older people in the 1960s who were nostalgic for this time. And Mr. Ed Lindsay, the character in our story, gets to personify that. I know that Rod Serling was absolutely nostalgic for radio, and that makes sense. Miss Sparkle says, I'm over 100 years old, and I am super nostalgic. Whoa, you must be nostalgic for just so many things. You used to ride the trolley. So, having written for radio. Yeah, of course. So Serling did write for radio before he wrote for TV. That's a fact. And so this is definitely something it makes sense that this is something appealing to him. I knew it would be. And so one of the problems with this episode was getting all of the recordings of these old radio stations and making them sound like they're actual live radio rather than just the recordings. And so, but of course, they have to find the recordings. They have, they wanted to make sure to include the fire chief, and being able to obtain all these old radio shows was important. And so Edwin recommended that he contact Texaco, a sponsor of the series. Oh, Texaco helped. Wow, really? Buck Houghton, upon learning the okay. So Buck Houghton explained to Serling that time was of the essence, and instead used a recording of the Fred Allen show instead of the fire chief. Oh, okay. So they didn't get the fire chief? I wouldn't know because I don't know what these references are really. So they get a recording of the Fred Allen show and the FDR address, of course, that's in our National Archives. That's much easier to find because, of course, we recorded all of those. And the particular FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt address to the nation was from April 28th, 1935 in this episode. Then we've got a segment from Allen's Alley in this episode as well, from January 6th, 1946. And radio station WPDA heard over the radio from one of the recordings was referring to radio station WPDA in Cedarburg, New Jersey. Lemon Pie tells Miss Sparkles, "You don't look half bad for 100." Yeah, no kidding, right? Yes, it's genetics, apparently. All right, so this episode starts in what looks like a boarding house. Of course, it is. I was correct. Because you see all the variety of tenants watching TV together. And the only reason I really know what a boarding house is because I used to watch the cartoon, the Nickelodeon cartoon, Hey Arnold, where all the people in the boarding house ate dinner together and did all sorts of things together. And in this case, they're all watching TV together because it's the only TV in the house. And of course, they do have dinner together also. That this also is one of those things they all do together. But people watching TV together, even just a family, a nuclear family, all in one room, all at the same time every day, is something that is all but extinct today. Last week, we saw a dinosaur from an airplane down in Manhattan. This time, we're seeing dinosaur of the way that we enjoy media together. And and so I didn't even get even though I might actually be a kid from the last generation that enjoyed time in the living room watching the same programs together. And even then we started getting TVs in our bedrooms, but I didn't get cable for my TV. I had to stick some rabbit ears on the top of it, and only the TV in the living room had the cable. But my rabbit ears did pick up the 1990s Outer Limit. So I got to watch those. Gavin Blackburn says, "I have watched the 1969 moonwalk from the Apollo 11 mission as originally broadcast. Old media will never die." Yes, as long as it's archived, as long as people protect it and keep the recording safe, we can relive these moments in history, even if we weren't there originally to see it. The glove cleaner still listens to old radio. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Scotty R37 rules supreme on all YouTube. Yes, even yeah, that's true. He's pretty amazing. Can't knock that. It's kind of crazy how many channels it has. Yeah, my kid's dad has an antenna TV. Yeah, well, it's just crazy how many channels we have in general. There's so many options today. In this episode, there's only 4 TV channels. This episode kind of makes fun of the TV, but there was only 4 channels for people to all watch together. And there was a togetherness you could have that you can't have now, and there's so many options. Nobody's watching the same things anymore. So, ho anyway, 2 of the tenants are playing checkers together. So this is our main character here. This is Ed Lindsay, and this is Professor Ackerman, who is a pretty good friend. He's very open-minded, you'll find out, but and he will he's got an open curiosity that I think is really cool. But he too is distracted by the TV, so he's not really paying too much attention to this chess game. He first of all moves the wrong piece. He moves the Ed's piece. So in correcting that, oh, he instead moves a piece that leaves him open to losing instantly. I don't know how long this game's been going on, but it might be the quickest game of checkers ever. The glove cleaner says, "Solo today, Jill?" Yes. Yes. Yes, solo today, except for that I have you here, the glove cleaner. Anything you want to add to what I'm talking about that interests you? I'll be reading them aloud along with Old Man Bird, Miss Sparkles. Lemon Pie is here. DJ Play Nice. So I'm not 100% solo. I do have my friends here in the chat. And of course, reigning supreme Gavin Blackburn. Where are the pieces? I know, right? You kind of can't see them in this shot, but they are there. When you turn the shot around, you can see it. And who have you been dropping octaves on today? Okay. Old Man Bird asks DJ Blaines. So we've got what is it? This is Miss Nelson, Mrs. Nelson, and then this is one of the main characters in this story, Benny Brown. And there we are. And Ed Lindsay is played by Dean Jagger. And all of these actors are all stage actors. Wait, you can see the pieces in this slide. I meant to pause it. There it is. You can sort of see the pieces now. And on the black and white TV, I guess Checkers doesn't look so good because the black pieces are the same color as the black faces. Anyhow, that wasn't really a concern, I guess. But Dean Jagger did a whole lot of TV and film. He got an Academy Award for the Best Supporting Actor for his role in Henry King's 12 O'Clock High. And he did a contract. He signed a contract with Paramount, so he did lots of TV stuff, lots of stuff, lots of movies and things. It's a Great Life. Not It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Great Life. I've never heard of that one. And Woman Trap, not to be confused with The Man Trap, the Star Trek episode. There's no Star Trek today. I was looking and looking through all the actors trying to see if I could find Star Trek. It's not here. Anyway, he did lots of stuff. Day of the Evil Gun, 1968. Interesting. The Brotherhood of the Bell. And he also did Bonanza. And he was in a Partridge. He was in an episode of the Partridge Family in a Christmas episode. Don't bring your guns to town, Santa. Okay. Yeah, it does seem like he did a lot of Western stuff. So anyway, that is Dean Jagger. And hello to you, Swift -1. Good to see you. So there's on TV, we're witnessing a cigarette commercial. And this is another throwback, another old thing that just doesn't happen anymore. Because, well, I'm not really nostalgic for the cigarette commercials because I never had them growing up, as they were banned in the United States by 1971, long before I was born, even when my mom was just a kid. So, Old Man Bird sends 1999 super sticker. Thank you so much, Old Man Bird. That is really great. Thank you so much for supporting the channel today. And let me spin a wheel for you and see what we get. And let's see, what should we do? Spinning. Gavin Blackburn says, my favorite Dean Jagger movie is Bad Day at Black Rock. Let's see, 1955 film. It's a neo-western, not to be confused with Bad Day in Black Rock. Wait a minute, am I already confused? I might be. No. Anyway, it's just the way it happened. Yeah, definitely Western kind of thing. Very cool. Oh, Spencer Tracy, says the glove cleaner. Yeah, starring Spencer Tracy, the Bad Day at Black Rock. One of these days, I'm going to start watching some Western movies because I'm just not up to snuff on any of that. And where am I? Yeah. Oh, there it is. There's the cigarette commercial. That's what you see on TV. On TV, on the Twilight Zone, I was promised Ward Cleaver. Really? Who promised you that? I didn't promise anything. But anyway, as I said, cigarette commercials were banned in 1971. So I never saw them live. However, I did get to see the demise of cigarette billboards on the side of the road, banned completely basically by 1999. This particular cigarette ad here is talking about how their cigarette doesn't smell like tobacco, but rather fresh cut grass. That sounds like a likely story, and I'm not sure I believe that. Greek letters Larson or Dionysus Larson says, "Okay, Jill is soloing today, folks. This is gonna be interesting." Scotty R37 says, "Hugh Beaumont. No. Charles Beaumont wrote the episodes. Leave It to Beaver's dad is not in this episode." Gavin Blackburn says, "And Ernest Borgnine, Lee Marvin, Anne Francis, and Robert Wright." Well, yeah, you do know your movie that you really love with Dean Jagger. So, Scott, the cigarettes in this commercial smell like grass, and Scott here 37 says his smell like muffins. Ooh, like blueberry muffins? Brogu says, "Hello, anti-derivative Jill. Kapla to you and everyone here." Kapla, I said. Ah, it's good to see you, Brogu. I like cigarettes that smell like cigarettes. Weird, right? No, it's not weird at all. Gavin says that he had licorice cigarettes today. Robert Ryan is one of my favorite character actors, says the glove cleaner. Well, you know what? Okay, it sounds like this is a live stream for Bad Day at Black Rock. I'm gonna have to figure out what this is. Check out the setup, says Scotty. So, who is this lady? This lady who's. These are actually pretend commercials. They're not real commercials that they cut from real TV. They're pretend commercials made just for this episode. And Diane Strom is the lady in the cigarette commercial, this pretend cigarette commercial. And she did El Dorado in 1966, Red Line 7065. And yeah, here's that commercial. Green, cool grass, the touch, the smell of green, cool grass. Now brought to you for the first time in green, the new chlorophyll cigarette. The smoke that doesn't smell like tobacco, but smells good. Green, cool, like grass. Yeah, it's hilarious. Scotty R37 says, "Anywho, stopping by to wish you all well. Now, I must dash off to fight crime." Okay, Scotty, I'll leave you with this. In fact, I forgot to play a video for Old Man Bird. So I'm going to play two videos, one for you and one for Old Man Bird. The one I'm going to play for you is, well, since you said you were going to fight crime, I will play. I'll play this.
Get him! Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod!
And then I'm also going to play this. That's kind of funny with the transporter sound happening right in the middle. And finally, for Old Man Bird, this is what the wheel chose for you.
Please do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love.
There you are. Have a good day, Scotty. R37. Oh, he's made a different request. I can play that one too. I still have it here.
Hey, that's the Chiefs. The Chiefs got it.
There it is. Mikey says for hello. Greek letters Larson says General Zod, true American hero. Yeah, that's not really. The glove cleaner says fighting crime is a full-time job after all. That's true. That's true. And that's the reasoning. I'm glad that Scotty was here to explain himself what he's doing. I couldn't have said it better myself, and so I won't say anything. So this episode does also, while it's talking the praises of radio, it also takes a few jabs at television while using television as the medium. So it's TV is kind of a bit of a antagonist, I suppose, in this episode, according to Mark Scott Zicree, and I can see that. Yeah, he definitely uses it. Ed definitely uses it that way. So Ed says, "What's the matter with you, Professor? What's the matter with all you people? Are you hypnotized or something going out of your blessed minds?" So just commenting on how everyone is transfixed by the television. And Vinny says, "If you don't care for a program, you can request a different channel." And Ed says, "What difference does that make? What channel you got?" And he starts flipping through the channel. He does some channel surfing. And he does some channel surfing. Then we get a car race happening. And look at those old cars racing. Greek letters Larson says, with General Zod, we slept with our doors unlocked. And we had good jobs, and the air was sweeter, and the grass greener. Bring back General Zod. You can't. Superman defeated General Zod and his other friends, so they can get out of here. Okay, so then the next channel has a man playing a song here. This is Jerry Fuller playing this rock and roll song. I don't know if this is a real rock and roll song. It seems like a really generic one. It reminds me of I Hate You from Star Trek 4, like a pretend punk rock song. This is a pretend rock and roll song. I don't think it's a real one. If it is a real one, let me know. But I meant to look up the lyrics earlier, but then I was listening to the lyrics. They sound so generic. I think it was made for this show. And Mike C4 says, "Jill with the Enterprise pointer." I do have that. And speaking of Enterprise, hello to the Trek reviewer. Great to see you. Gavin says to Greek letters, "Yes, Planet Houston was really safe back then. And so then we changed the channel again. Don't worry, we don't watch TV watching TV this entire episode. And the next channel was an advertisement. It was a salesman. If you act now, you can get your acreage in Splendor Flats for the fantastically unbelievable price of 25 cents an acre a week. Actually, that's insane. But yeah, that's the power of inflation. And anyway, he makes it back around to the beginning, which is still featuring the grass cigarette commercial. What a long commercial that is. And speaking of commercials, Brogu says, "Do you guys remember that Calgon Take Me Away commercial?" Well, I say, "General Zod, take us away." I did not expect General Zod to be the hero of today's live stream. And to think that Lex Luthor wanted to rule Australia. Yeah, he did. He did. He's going to have Australia. The Trek reviewer says, "Hello to Gavin. You are done cleaning the holodeck yet? Are you done cleaning the holodeck?" Oh, what? I always thought the Enterprise was self-cleaning. But I guess if you use it, you should clean it yourself. Like putting your dishes in the sink. I don't know the etiquette of this. But anyway, Ed has had it with the TV. Even though, to me, it's very interesting that they're only broadcasting 4 TV channels, limiting what everyone is watching. As I said earlier, people got to connect with each other more deeply culturally, being so limited. Although I like having choices, so it's nice having all these choices, but it's harder to find the good stuff this way. But it's easy to find all the good stuff in the past, much like Ed is about to do here. The companion says, "Static is a loving remembrance of something dear that is gone." In his book of nostalgic essays, Remember, Remember, from 1963, Beaumont wrote, "The world of radio is real to us, was real to us. There are squirts in small fry today who will soon be as old as the us of then, and I know some who haven't turned a radio on in their entire lives. I try to tell them what it was like, but they don't understand. They can't believe I'm talking about the little plastic box in the kitchen that plays rock and roll and gives us the news. And I'm not sure I believe it either. Television is the substitute for what we had, and I deem it a bad one. It inspires neither loyalty nor awe. It does not thrill, transport, terrify, or enchant. It only entertains." And in a line later on in the episode, Ed is going to say, "Radio is a world that has to be believed to be seen." And so I guess I'm not of the right time period to agree. I do think that television and movies can thrill, transport, terrify, and enchant. So I can't relate. It is the generational gap is too much for me on this one. Never use static cling in a holodeck. Okay, good advice. Jill, you should do a stream dedicated to General Zod and how great he was someday. No, I did a stream about Superman too, so I think I did talk enough about General Zod for now. Just hope that Jordy and Barkley don't have a holodeck session right after each other. Yeah, right? Oh no. What do you think after Jordy met the real Leah Brahms? Did he refine the hologram, the holodeck Leah Brahms to match the real one better? Because she wasn't quite right. Lemon Pie says, "Where's James Caserta, the General Zod of chill streams?" I'm not sure. It's not like I can call him from here. Exactly, Gavin, especially with Troy using the holodeck for extended periods. Oh no, what is Troy doing with the holodeck? My goodness. I'm just eating lots of ice cream, not having to deal with the calories. You know, you have. Okay, so speaking of nostalgia, this man is looking for it. He's so upset at this television viewing experience that he goes downstairs to seek out the media he prefers. First, he looks at a photo of himself with another woman who looks just like one of the tenants we just saw, except she has darker hair, so we're supposed to believe she's younger here. And this is him when he used to be in a relationship with Vinny. But they're clearly not in a relationship now. So what happened there? Anyway, he's looking for the radio. This is the radio that he wants to take with him and take it out of the basement. A little boy is spying on him. Little boy is not given a name, and unfortunately, Ed keeps calling him boy. So the boy is played by Stephen Talbot. So I'm gonna call him Steve instead of boy. And the little boy has no idea what could be in that cabinet and doesn't realize it's a radio. He knows what radios are, I'm sure, from cars and stuff. And like Charles said, the little boxes in the kitchen, but he hasn't seen a radio like that. And then we get the opening narration for this episode. And it says, no one's ever saw one quite like that, because that's a very special sort of radio. In its day, circa 1935, its type was one of the most elegant consoles on the market. Now, with its fabric-covered speakers, its peculiar yellow dial, its serrated knobs, it looks quaint and a little strange. Mr. Edward Lindsay is going to find out how strange very soon when he tunes in to the Twilight Zone. And that's the opening narration about this particularly magical radio. And Ed keeps calling Steve boy, but we're going to call him Steve. Steve helps Ed carry the radio inside out of the basement. And Professor Ackerman, who wasn't really paying attention at checkers earlier, is now interested in what Ed is doing with the radio. And so, excuse me, Jill, it's lunchtime and I'm eating leftover roast. And I mean so much. I think I'm getting a meat high. Ooh, might be good to slow down, drink some water, relax. Oh, yeah, food highs are definitely a thing. It is not a I get sushi highs if I eat sushi. Wow. I think Jordy kept the compliant Browns, the one who liked his liked liked him more. No, but the other one was real. Anyway, I want to find out who Geordie LaForge married. Yeah, the only time we get to see him with Leah Brahms was in an alternate reality, which ended up not even existing. So, yes, me too. Unfortunately, we never find out because, yeah, no, I know. This is the point where Scotty Earth 37 will say something about Picard season 3, and I say, I don't recognize Picard season 3. And he's like, "What? You're a child." And then I'm like, "No, it's not Star Trek. Not to me." So there you go. There's a pocket conversation that we always have. Greek Letters Larson says, rumor has it that they had to sterilize the holodecks after Lieutenant Barclay used them. That's what they say. I mean, is or is not the Enterprise self-cleaning? Or maybe it's self-cleaning for the whole ship, but the holodeck is a special case? I don't know. Nobody really knows. There's a wash drum on the wall background. You can use a washboard to do laundry with the drum or play tunes with the combo. Interesting. Video killed the radio star? Yeah, exactly. And streaming killed video? Yes. Yes, DJ Play Nice and Star Trek predicted that in the episode with the first time we saw Romulans in a long time. The Neutral Zone in the Next Generation predicted that TV would go extinct in the middle of this century, which we are on track. We are on track for that. That was a great prediction. My granddad had one of those huge radios built into a 3-foot long sideboard, needed to be warmed up, so it was probably a valve unit. Oh wow, yeah, with those oh yeah, you had to replace big components. Let's just say you don't want to use blacklight on those holodecks. Well, you don't want to use a blacklight when you go to a hotel either. Never validate the filth. They've ruined Trelane now. Oh, good grief. It's not possible to ruin Trelane, though, because Strange New Worlds is some kind of different crazy universe that has nothing to do with original Star Trek. I just can't believe John Delancey keeps saying yes to these people in terms of he's going to be the voice for the dad of whoever's playing Trelane. Not Trelane. Anyway, yeah. No, I won't. I won't ever validate the filth, Gavin. That's what I have Scotty for. He can do that whenever he's here. The Trek reviewer says we do see the results of Geordie's love for his wife in season 3 of Picard. Yeah, see, there you go. See, there you go. See, we didn't need Scotty this time. The Trek reviewer did it for us. And in lower, yes, I did remember in Lower Decks that I saw them cleaning the holodecks. That's why I said we never ever find out how they clean the holodecks, because I was making a deliberate reference to that without wanting to talk about it. Mikey Sue's Force says my dad's parents had a similar old radio. Mini stations could also pick up early CB signals too. Ooh, nice. Yeah. Daniel says he saw the Trelane and strangled nude worms and he was okay, according to Daniel. That's news from Daniel's Hot Topics. And other news, Paramount just gave Matt Stone and Trey Parker $1.5 billion to make South Park. And they only take 1 week to make each episode. And they only have to make 10 episodes a year. So these guys are getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars to work 10 weeks out of the year. That's pretty crazy. I would not want to be a person having to clean the all right now. I don't know. You'd have to be given not just some Federation credits, but some gold press latinum on top of that, right? And so Ed turns on the radio, and there's some fast music on it. It's obviously a modern channel playing a rock and roll song. And Steve is dancing. The kid loves this song. And Ed shoos the kid away. He gives him some money, actually, though. He's like, here's some money. And he says, go buy a switchblade. Oh boy. And this scene where Ed Lindsay tells the young boy to go out and buy himself a switchblade, handing him pocket change, was not approved by CBS, who asked Houghton that the line be replaced with an alternative, suggesting candy or a remote control toy. And fortunately, I'm so glad that they didn't change that line because Ed is supposed to be cantankerous. And that is the equivalent of telling someone to play in traffic these days. That kid looks like Dennis the Menace. Oh yeah, I didn't really see anything in his history that aligned with that exactly. His name is Steven. Let's see. Oh, I need a highlighter. Let's highlight. Highlight this. Okay, Steven. His name was Stephen Talbot. Stephen Talbot. But I don't think he did a whole lot. Oh, no, maybe he did a whole lot. Wait a minute. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, that's producer credits. Okay, he did that. But what about his acting credits? He did. Obviously. Well, if it doesn't say Twilight Zone, I've got the wrong guy. Yeah, he was in the Twilight Zone. He was Gilbert on Leave It to Beaver. Oh, Leave It to Beaver is in this is referred to in these episodes. So Gilbert, I guess it's I don't know who Gilbert was in Leave It to Beaver, but whoever he was. Wow. Scotty wanted there to be Leave It to Beaver in this episode, and I told him there wasn't. He was right, but he didn't know it. But no, I don't see Dennis Menace though here. Good call though, because that led me to a different discovery. Back in the day, you could tell a little boy like that to go get you a pack of cigarettes, and they would sell it to him. Yeah, or a case of beer, whatever. Well, maybe a case is too much for him to carry a 6-pack. The glove cleaner says, my little sister and I went to the corner store to buy smokes for mom and dad. Oh, confirmed. Rogu's statement was confirmed right here. And we had said child do the buying of the cigarettes. Who the hell was Gilbert? I have no idea who Gilbert was. I don't remember Leave It to Beaver. I was hoping somebody else would know. A different discovery. Star Trek Discovery. Why would you mention Star Trek Discovery when I'm in such a good mood, Daniel? But you know what? Daniel's Hot Topics, you're here, and the Trek reviewer are here to keep me honest about new Trek. Gavin Blackburn says, never tell Scotty he was right. It will embolden him. Well, no, I'm only telling him he's right when he's not here, right? That's okay. He's not going to watch this. Tom Troop, who appeared in Star Trek and Mission Impossible, died at the age of 97. And that is news from Mikey Sue's 4 that occurred 2 days ago. So rest in peace to Tom Troop. He played in Star Trek. He played Lieutenant Harold in Arena. And Hold on. Wait, I can't listen to that while I'm live. He's the sole survivor of a Gorn attack on the Federation outpost. Oh my gosh. Ah, rest in peace, Tom. Thank you for amazing helping on an amazing episode. Brogu says the kid was in Leave It to Beaver and he still owes Wally $10. Oh, okay. See, Brogu knew. I knew somebody would know. CTV did a wicked take on Hugh Beaumont on Beaver. DJ Play Nice says I got to see most of the Leave It to Beaver in syndication on weekday afternoons. There was a schrock of kids and family programming and after school time slots. I only ever saw it on Nick at Night. It was real, like it's real late at night, and every once in a while it was on there. Daniel says I don't know why I love these black and white shows so much. I guess because I can feel they were safer, calmer times, and they were better stories. When I watch them, I feel calmer. Oh, I didn't know you had PTSD, Daniel. Yeah, definitely watch more black and white if that helps you be calm. Yeah. Twilight Zone was the first black and white show I watched as a kid that I really, really was drawn to. Old Man Bird says Katie Sackhoff had just done a 90-minute interview with George Takei on her channel. Oh, wow, she did? That's great. That's really cool. So, Starbuck is doing sci-fi interviews. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know she had a channel. Could you Old Man Bird, what's her, handle? Her @ handle? I know you can't post the whole link, but you can put @ and whatever her handle is. I'll check that out later. Where was I? Alright, so so Ed's listening to the radio, he's got the kid out of the way. And he switches to another station, but it doesn't sound right. So he has to bang on the radio, the top of the radio, and it begins to play a more classic song, a slower song called I'm Getting Sentimental Over You by Tommy Dorsey, which is a real song. And Dean Jagger, he's very good at letting you see the nostalgia that's growing within him from this very old song. Sometimes things from our past are made even more beautiful alongside the memories we put beside them, and that idea is not lost on this episode. They make sure to tie in the nostalgia you see here with his past later on, closer to the end of the episode. Unfortunately for Ed, the radio sound keeps going in and out, not playing quite right. He has to bang on it again to get it going. Then it stops again. And so, of course, what's confusing about this is it's 1961, but they're playing this really old stuff as if it's live on radio, like live radio. And so I was considering already at this point whether these were just old recordings. Of course, they are just old recordings stitched together to sound like they're live. But in the context of the universe of this story, these radio broadcasts are playing live, even though they're from the past. So it's a radio that plays broadcasts from the past live. That's some interesting kind of time travel. Mhm. Who's Bob Crane? Let's see. Why did I put him here? Oh, because he's the guy who Bob Crane we don't see him, but we hear him. They recorded his voice to be the DJ for this old-timey radio. It says he was a class clown when he was a kid. That's cute. And of course, he was on the radio. He worked at KNX Radio and became king of the airwaves in Los Angeles. And his radio program became a huge success. And he interviewed Frank Sinatra, Marilyn Monroe, Bob Hope. But he also wanted to be an actor, so yes, he was on the Twilight Zone, just this one. And wait a minute. Oh, okay, never mind. That was a different man trap. I was like, wait, he wasn't in Star Trek, but I guess there's actually a movie called Man Trap. Anyway, he did become an actor like he wanted, and he did lots of stuff. Even the Love Boat, looks like. Oh no, that's really sad. Bob Crane was murdered in his apartment in 1978. My goodness. Why? But the mystery, the murder mystery is unsolved. That's not good. But he does a really good job on this episode. Sorry to bring it down like that at the end, but that is brutal. Anyway, back to the radio broadcast. Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra bid you all a very pleasant good night, direct from the Princeton campus in a broadcast of the Summer Swing Festival. So, saying direct means that it's live. But before we sign off, we invite you to stay tuned for the Major Bose and his famous amateur hour. And Major Bose was also a real presence, a real radio personality. And he said, "Good evening, friends. Once again, the wheel of chance, or of fate as you please, one's about to resolve. And as the barker standing out at the wheel of the fortune says, around she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows." And so he starts the story, but he doesn't get any more story because the sound on the radio goes out again. And according to Vinny, it's time for dinner. And here's Ed being ungentlemanly again. The lady who was tending to her nails, the Vinny, was telling Ed, Lindsay, that dinner's ready. He says he's not hungry, which is fine. And she responds, "Well, you know how Mrs. Nielsen feels." And Ed Lindsay says, "Oh, all right. Ever since I can remember, women have been running my life. Now, do this, do that. Come to dinner. Don't come to dinner." Vinny says, "Frankly, Mr. Lindsay, I don't care whether you starve to death. I just wanted to make sure that it's on purpose and not because you'd forgotten that food is available." And so this is where we cut to the dinner table where everyone is already at the end of the dinner. They're eating dessert already while Ed is singing his tune, his song that he was listening earlier to, the Tommy Dorsey song. And Mrs. Nelson is not very happy with this. I wonder if Wally gets interest in that $10. Jill, grandbaby's finally asleep. Oh, the grandbaby's asleep. That's good news. Ah, awesome. Katie Sackhoff interviewed George Takei? Wow, when was this? I know, that's what I want to know about. Jill, do you remember when the Leave It to Beaver mother was on the 1980 airplane with Leslie Nielsen? They had her talk and jive to the African American guy. That was so funny. Yes. Oh, that was her? I see. Yeah, no, I do remember that scene. What a great movie. I picked the wrong day to quit drinking. You're just on time. I'm just watching an old guy enjoy his old-timey radio. And for you, of course, I must play. Gladys Kravitz sitting at the dinner table. Oh, whoa. Oh, I forgot what I always did last time. That was very helpful to me. Maybe I'll do it in a minute. Oh, no audio? Can you hear me now? How long was I muted? Was I really muted? Hold on. Am I still muted? Oh no, I was talking for a while. I was talking for 2 minutes and I don't know for how long I was muted. I was talking the entire time, so when I was muted, I wasn't meant to be muted. That's the only problem of me being on my own is when I unintentionally mute myself. So I don't know, what was the last thing I said before I was muted? Do you guys remember? Just so I can fill in the blank. Gorilla's Random Dot says, Kapla, just got done making the cashier at the gas station cry when I brought my change jar full of pennies and nickels in and said I wanted this much on pump 3. You did not do that for real. Did you really? My goodness. I can't believe I was muted for 2 minutes. The dangers of solo streaming. Leave It to Beaver was also Nanny on the Muppet Babies. Oh, right. Okay. So she was that pair of legs with the long socks. You dropped out from the comment about Hogan's Heroes and Timmy Dorsey. Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, then in that case, then I don't think Jinx Washer 1256 saw me say hello to him. So hello again. Jinx Washer. And the glove cleaner asks, am I the only one who doesn't know what a holodeck is? It's a device on Star Trek. The modern equivalent is a virtual reality, those virtual reality goggles you can put on to play video games. Well, the holodeck is a way more advanced version of that where you can just walk on the holodeck and live anywhere, any when, anything you want. And so one of the fun things that they do sometimes is you can read a whole book just by living the entire book on the holodeck, or living a movie, or living whatever, or going to a place you've never been. Virtual reality. Yeah. Well, no, not 10 days, 10 weeks a year. Oh my God, these people at Paramount get paid tens of millions of bucks for working 10 days a year. These people will never see poverty. Well, but no, Matt Stone and Trey Parker totally deserve it. They worked for it. And I commend them for their awesomeness. Way to go, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, for banking. Bro Goose says, back in the day, you could tell a little boy like that to go get you package tickets. So that one I read. Okay, I read that one too. And so the grandbaby's asleep. That is amazing. All right, I read that one. So I think, okay, that's where I got cut off. And Gavin said, I don't think the 60s were calmer times. America in the next 5 years would lose a president, the Bay of Pigs fiasco, the Cuba blockage, Civil Rights Act of 1964, Indian segregation, and Vietnam. And that's right. It was a very tumultuous time in our history. But I think I was saying when I was muted that even though that was the case, media was presented in such a way that you talked about these issues through fantasy and science fiction, and I think that made things really creative. I think and a lot of times you could be talking about Vietnam, but when you watch the TV show, you see aliens. So I think that was a more interesting way to consume entertainment that way. It was pretty good. Gladys Kravitz. Okay, so there it is. I got through everything. I was muted. I did that. Maybe not as good as the first time. And talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, right. Great. I'm fine now. We most certainly didn't hear you when you asked if you're still muted. Okay, thank you, Greek letters. Been there, done that. Well, and solar streaming. Why did they leave you alone? Is that a wise move? Well, it's my channel, and I welcome people who want to come talk to me, but today that particular thing did not occur, and it's just me today. I do have a group of people to talk about the Twilight Zone, but they're busy. Girls Random Thought says, well, when you're on E and your check doesn't come until 8, you have to do what you have to do. Yeah, I love the holodeck too, Daniel. But we're on the theme of how disgusting the holodeck is. Brogu says the holodeck is a germ-ridden room where everyone has participated in a fantasy. It is a room full of filth. See, I was talking about how you can enter any world, go to any time period, and experience history or contemplate the future. Brogu's like, the holodeck is for porn. Anyway, anyhow, anywhere I choose. Hey folks, back off a little, will ya? Jill has delivered a couple of kids, lives in Texas. I think she can handle a solo stream without blowing it up. I mean, she has muted herself, all right. Probably the last sci-fi analogy shows was the original V. Yeah, I like the analogies. 60s was the perfect time. They invented the miniskirt back then. True. And back in the 60s, people could hold a discourse without falling into screaming matches. Yes, you could have a good debate, and the family doesn't split up afterwards. Best use of the holodeck was Tuvok killing Neelix over and over again. I need a drink of my coffee now. That- and that's what happens. I have to cough or something, and I mute, and I forget to unmute. DJ Play Nice has to roll. Have a great rest of the show. Yes, you too. You too, DJ Play Nice. Have a great day. And DJ Play Nice says, y'all be safe, have fun, take care of your crew, and rock. I don't know what is better, Sherlock Holmes or Dixon Hill era. Says Daniel. What? Wait. Okay. Well, I'd rather pick my own books. Yeah, that's what you're doing. I'd like to visit both eras, but I'm torn between them. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you don't have to limit yourself to what Picard used to turn on the holodeck for. And hello to. Wait, is Canadian Spider Man here? He is. How did you know he was here? I didn't even see him. Wow, lemon pie? You can predict the future. Jill, you can't tell me that Riker hasn't done some naughty things in the holodeck. No, you're right. Not just in the holodeck, but don't you remember Grogu in his room? He has this little hologram projection of ladies playing the harp. And hello, Canadian Spider Man. I guess I really need a crew now. Wow, yeah. Congratulations to Canadian Spider Man. He now is the proud owner of a sailboat. Well, how cool is that? If Gavin Blackburn had holodeck, I'd play War of the Worlds. H.G. Wells. That's H.G. Wells is always a good choice. Maybe Princess of Mars? Edgar Rice Burroughs maybe is what I would do if I needed to do an old-timey public domain sci-fi. Anyway, he's being more ungentlemanly to Vinny. Anyway, and then they go to the dinner. Ed is singing. He's singing his song, but Miss Nielsen quiets him down. She's Alice Pierce, and she played the grandmother in the Addams Family. But she was approached to play the grandma in the Addams Family, but she turned it down. Never mind. Blossom Rock got it instead. Okay, so then Pierce joined the cast of Bewitched as the nagging, nosy neighbor, Gladys Kravitz. That's what you were talking about. Gladys Kravitz was at the table. Yes, she was at the head of the table. Now I know what you're talking about. Like, who's Gladys? Gladys Kravitz. But now I got you. I got you now. Bewitched. And so I'll show her. She's right there at the end of the table there. There we go. Well, now I know what you're talking about, and that makes me happy. And Professor Ackerman asks what the song was that Ed was humming. And he's excited to tell Ackerman about the band, about hearing the band Tommy Dorsey singing live, but Roscoe Bragg is this guy with the glasses. Roscoe Bragg is played by Arch W. Johnson. And that's this guy right here. And he says, you can't have heard Tommy Dorsey live. He's dead. And it's true. He died in 1956. And so I thought, okay, now must mean that was a recording of a live performance. And that's what the professor says. But then that's what the professor says. But Mr. Bragg says they didn't have tape recordings back then, and Professor Ackman said no, but they did have wire, and before that, discs. So they had a means of recording. And then Ed asks about Major Bose. He's also dead, 1946. His radio show was real, though. And I actually looked a bit into it. Didn't listen to any of it yet, but I might. It was a very popular show that Major Bose was the host of. And he discovered stars, people who became stars. Lily Pons, Robert Merrill, Beverly Stills, comedian Jack Carter, pop singer Teresa Brewer, and Frank Sinatra. Oh. And even after Major Bose died in 1956, the radio kept his amateur hour idea running all the way until 1970. So that's a pretty good legacy. And so we do find out this radio is trapped in time, playing live recordings of the 50s. Or the 40s, rather. Yeah. Canadian Spider-Man needs a crew. Spidey is AFK doing some schoolwork. Very good. You got to get that schoolwork done, Spidey. Don't procrastinate. Daniel agrees. War of the Worlds never gets old. But in Hollywood, sci-fi movies, the humans always beat the aliens in the end, which I have to say is a bit unrealistic. It's like the natives beating Christopher Columbus? Well, actually, Daniel, but the way that the humans defeat the Martians from War of the Worlds was okay. So it's a very unfortunate parallel that when people came to the New World, yes, there was violence that was unfortunate and wrong, but what killed most of the natives was the bacteria, the smallpox, the diseases that the people from the New World brought with them. And that is how the humans defeated the Martians, because of the diseases on Earth. The Martians could not handle those diseases, could not handle those bacteria. And so actually it wasn't the win for the humans was not unrealistic at all. Canadian Spider-Man says, I may get a Klingon Empire flag, which is pretty much a pirate flag. I procrastinated too long. That's why I have to do it now. That's why you have to buy a Klingon flag now. Yes, agreed. I foresee this stream will take forever if Jill's reading each and every comment in the chat. Back when I had a radio show for Halloween, I would play War of the Worlds and incorporate music throughout. Fun times. And if you wanna relive War of the Worlds and talk about it, next Monday, Jedi Master 2022, we'll be talking about it. And okay, so yes, you're right. Let's get back to this episode for time, and let's get through this one. And let's get through this one before I check on the chat again. And I will get back to you, chat. But that's Greek letters. Larson makes a good point. I'm having too much fun with you guys. Then Ed just basically starts talking about how wonderful radio was, how wonderful the music was, and how magic the radio plays used to be. Mr. Bragg says he doubts it in terms of actually being able to listen to this radio live. How can the radio in 1961 play 40s broadcast live? Well, Mr. Bragg doesn't know he's in the Twilight Zone, right? He should know this by now. And let's see here. And there's a little radio. All right. So this is where the problem starts here. Ed Lindsay says to Mr. Bragg, who watches television until his brain turns into oatmeal and his eyes roll down his face into his beer. Mr. Bragg, the modern man, doubts it. And so Ed gets a portable radio to show Mr. Bragg this live recording of 1940s radio. But he can't find it. And Mr. Bragg is calling Ed insane, telling Vinny that she's lucky she never married him. But this clearly makes Vinny very, very upset. She's breaking down. Ed brings in that smaller radio, but of course he can't find the magical radio station that's only on the big wooden cabinet radio. And Mr. Bragg laughs at Ed when he can't find the radio station, saying, gunfire's on in 4 minutes. And then, nobody's taking their plates to the sink. I guess maybe you don't have to do that at a boarding house. Most of the tenants leave the table at this word. I guess maybe they want to see gunfire too. I don't know if they're both mediocre westerns according to the reviews. I don't know. Maybe they're good. I don't know. One's from 1934 and the other is from 1950. Ackerman is still interested in what Ed is talking about and asks him if he remembers the station, WPDA. And Vinny's still at the table. And so Ed invites Vinny and, of course, Professor Ackerman to check out his radio. And yeah, see, she's kind of upset here, but she's happy when he invites her. But unfortunately, just like the frog won't sing for others, this radio won't play the live old radio for Ed's friends. And Professor Ackerman has the idea to call the station. And even though they're in a boarding house, he has to use a payphone. He has to use a rotary phone, so that means he doesn't have his own personal phone. He has to put money in the phone every time he wants to make a phone call. That seems very inconvenient. And he learns that the WPDA radio station has been out of business for 13 years. And Vinnie Brown notices that it's not listed in the radio section. But I still love the open mind that the professor has. Vinnie Brown says, "Professor, is it so impossible?" Professor Ackerman says, "Impossible? Well, that's a dangerous sort of word to use nowadays, Vinny. We take things for granted today that we call impossible, that we called impossible just a few years ago. Let's call it highly unlikely." And so they're not outright telling Ed that he's insane or anything. We're thinking he's listening to the past. Vinny wants to talk to Ed, but he's too busy fussing with the radio. So she has to leave. And in this instance, he's listening to a broadcast of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was president from 1933 to 1945. He was, of course, the only president to serve more than 2 terms. He served 4. It was only after FDR that we passed the 22nd Amendment to limit the presidential terms to 2. And that was ratified in 1951. Oh, and Burger 414's got a split. Almost time for work. Got night shift. Oh, okay. Have a good work. Have a good time of work. Hopefully it's not too bad. Canadian Spider-Man says the settlers in the New World also brought good things besides germs, though. The written word, booze, and freedom from Slavic type things that sound like that. Also, yeah, like horses and lots of cool stuff. You're right. You're right, Canadian Spider-Man. There was some good stuff too. And there we are. Oh, back then I had a radio show for Halloween. I would play World of the Worlds and incorporate appropriate music throughout. That's pretty cool. That's really very cool. Glove cleaner. And well, and Ed runs into the living room. Just okay. So I don't think we're there yet. Are we? Yeah. Yeah, he's listening to the president there. I think that's the address. Let's see. Yeah, so then he runs into the living room, happy to report that he could hear the WPDA station now. And he calls Vinny and the professor, and Miss Meredith says, don't encourage him." And well, there are a couple. There's a wife and husband actor here. Lillian O'Malley and Pat O'Malley are in this episode, playing different bits here. They're not actually. Their characters aren't married, but they are in real life. Anyway, that I thought that was interesting. Oh, Miss Meredith said, "Oh, Professor, don't encourage that poor man. He's gone completely psychological." Ed is upset he loses the radio station from the past anytime he shares it with anyone. Vinny's just there to help, but again, Ed is being belligerent and saying she must think he's bonkers. But she says, okay, so this is the big part of it. Let's see when we get there. There it is, yeah. Right now, Ed Lindsay, you're just about the meanest, sourest, most cantankerous old man on the face of the earth. And Ed says, thanks. But she says, and I'm not much better. We've been living like 2 hermits under the same roof for the last 20 years, staring at each other every morning, day in, day out, 20 long years, wondering what went wrong. Ed acts like he doesn't know what she's talking about, but she says, "Oh, yes, you do. You know exactly what I'm talking about, but you won't admit it. We were going to be married. Don't get your back up. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just talking. We met in the sporting house in 1940, and it was here that you proposed. I wanted to set the date, but your mother was ill. You remember? So you decided to wait. And that's just what we did. We waited and waited until, by the time your mother died, it was too late." And during this, Ed keeps trying to interrupt in different intervals, and she says, "Don't interrupt me. I've got to get this thing said." "Oh, I know you don't care anything about me now. I'm just a silly woman who watches television, dyes her hair, grows old. You don't even like me anymore. And I don't blame you. You're a bachelor set in your ways. You can't change what you are, and neither can I. We had our chance and missed it, Ed. But I'll tell you one more thing that's true. And I know it's true. You did love me as much as a man ever loved a woman, didn't you? And this is where Ed finally admits that that's true. And now you love what we might have become together. So, about this time every year, it would have been our anniversary, you start getting unhappy. You want to go back to 1940 and start all over again. Why do you think you keep hearing Getting Sentimental Over You on the radio? That was our song, Ed. And those programs, we used to listen to them together. In the dark. Ed says, I'd forgotten. And Vinny responds, when you hear those programs, you're like a young man again, with all your life ahead of you. But it isn't so, Ed. It's all over between us. We missed our chance. We can't go back. And so, but at this point, Ed realizes that she still thinks he's hearing this radio broadcast in his mind, when he's really hearing it from the radio. So he gets upset and asks her to leave, or basically tells her to leave, even though she just poured her entire heart all over the floor. Poor Vinny. Man. So, in reworking Rich's story, Beaumont made some changes according to The Companion by Mark Scott Zicree. While the original concerned a middle-aged, unhappily married man who uses the radio to escape into the past, Beaumont's script deals with the sour, aging bachelor who lives in a boarding house under the same roof with the woman who might have been his wife had things not gone wrong. The magic radio gives the man a second chance, transporting him to an idyllic past in which he and his beloved did not let life pass them by. And so then we have Ed and contemplating everything, and well, he doesn't actually want to
As I experience
contemplate
certain
any of it.
sensory input patterns, my mental pathways become accustomed to them.
Oh, that means something's happened. If we hear Data say that something very important has occurred. And that means we've got a membership message from RVM371. He's been a member for 1 month. Thank you, RVM371, for sending a membership message. He's using it to say, Ozzy Osbourne, aka the Prince of Darkness, rest in peace. Really, you're kidding. You can't be. No, you're not kidding. Oh man. Wow. The things that happen live on air on my show. My goodness, that just happened right now, didn't it? Jinx Washer 1256 says, I'm gonna cry. Ozzy Osbourne died this morning. Oh my god. He just retired like a few days ago, basically. Like didn't he just have his last tour? He kept going as long as he could. Unbelievable. While I'm broadcasting, I have a certain ability to rein in my emotions in such a way that is actually detrimental to times like this. So I'll probably have more feelings later, because I do have to, the show must go on and all that, but my gosh. Canadian Spider-Man says never retire, see what happens. But he just retired 5 minutes ago. You would think. Oh. RVM371 says he died doing literally what he loved. Oh my gosh. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was always surprised at how long he kept going and everything he was doing, and considering everything, he literally took every drug on the planet and lived for so long. Yeah, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. He's an incredible guy, and there are many great documentaries about him to explore. My my and so thank you for the news, the terrible news. At 80 years old. I'm guessing Sharon. Well, come on. Sharon tried to poison him, but he's immune. Well, that was a bit. That was quite a family, definitely. YouTube is my news. To Dana's Hot Topics, and good morning. Ozzy Osbourne died. I never heard that till now. It's not even on the news. Yeah, it's true. And it was released 30 minutes ago. And a bachelor set in his ways. Rings a bell. That's Spidey. Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Ozzy. I'll see what I can do. RVM371 also says there's coffee in that nebula. Hello, Joe. Hello, RVM371. Thank you. Thank you so much. He was actually born in 1948. Oh, so he's a little bit younger than. So he's only 77 instead of 80. Okay. Yeah, Daniel's Hot Topic says people in their 70s should not retire, and it's a bad idea. Well, and if they do, they gotta like keep a side business or hustle or something. But no, but I mean, it was just I could see that happening maybe in a year, but it was just a month ago that he retired. Also, my dad's doctor told my dad that he lost a lot of patients after they retired. Well, I always thought Ozzy was really cool. So good thing he's the Prince of Darkness. He will reign. And of course, I do like that the professor and Vinny are clearly the ones who care most about Ed Lindsay. And confronting why he feels so nostalgic based on his past was very vital to the episode to bring the humanity to it. And Rob writes, Gen X Pop Culture says, hi, chat. I'm sad to hear about Ozzy. Yeah, it is sad. And like I said, I'm going to feel more feelings when I go off there after talking about these episodes. Sigvaldison says, very true. Back at Lockheed, it was normal for someone retiring to pass away in 6 months or less. That's a lot less. Oh, goodness. He never struck me as a person who was actually gonna stop completely. I figured he was retiring so he could do some other projects or something. So I don't know what happened. But anyway, Ed Lindsay is listening to the next broadcast. He was listening to an old comedy parody about politics. Kind of sounded like an old timey Saturday Night Live on the radio. And Ed brings in some groceries, so it's good to see what chore he does around here at the boarding house. You get a whole world here. It's just 20-minute show, and you can really get the feeling of living in this boarding house really deeply and get to care about these characters. Some of them, anyway. And the professor offers to play checkers with Ed, and Benny offers lemonade. They really do care about Ed, but they've done something terrible. A horrifying thing happens. Ed's radio is gone. He races back downstairs to solve this mystery. I mean, or upstairs, wherever it is, wherever the radio is kept. He goes there. Oh, okay, so then we're going to be able to move on to the next episode in just a little bit. I know I was muted for a couple of seconds when I didn't mean to be. Did you guys hear me? Did I say the closing narration? Spidey, did you hear the closing narration?
1,000
The
buttloose.
breaking. Oh my god. Okay, so I just want a question answered. Okay, so Rob writes Gen X pop culture. His lunch break is over. Have a great day, everyone. You too, Rob. No, we did not hear the closing narration. Okay, so at the in the very last scene, he calls Vinny up and somehow she's 20 years younger and this is their first meeting. Ed is younger too and they hug tight and my question was, did they really get a second chance because of the radio or is he just in a never-ending delusional fantasy of a life that he didn't start? And so the closing narration was, around and around she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. All Ed Lindsay knows is that he desperately wanted a second chance and he finally got it through a strange and wonderful time machine called a radio in the Twilight Zone. And that was the conclusion of our first episode today called Static, wherein a man discovers that he can experience the radio of yesterday as if it were live today, and that somehow the magic of that time travel extended beyond that, and in the very last scene he's able to witness his fiance as he remembers her, or his girlfriend as he remembers her, and they had intended to get married, but now he's been given the second chance to marry her again. Or is he just being delusional? I think I think it's possible to experience both ways. I think that in this particular instance, it's supposed to be a happy ending, and that's of course if you can believe that you can go to the past and it still be your past and not a different reality. And in this case, you don't have to worry about that because it's 1960s time travel and it is all malleable. And so in just a minute, we're going to check out the next episode, The Prime Mover. But first, we're going to check out the chat a little bit. Old Man Bird has just learned of the sad breaking news that Ozzy Osbourne has left the mortal coil here. Ozzy Osbourne has died. And well, hey, the world wouldn't be the same without Black Sabbath, and his contributions will always be remembered. And eh, also for better or for worse, we'll always remember his reality TV shows where he and his family did all sorts of interesting things. And I got to learn how to understand Ozzy Osbourne because he would speak very quickly and in his accent. So that was a lot of fun. There were a lot of good times were had because Ozzy was here. And thank you to the dead man for sending a 99-cent super sticker. Oh, I appreciate it. You're able to send the poop again. That must mean good times are being had. And The Twilight Zone is such a great show, Rob, right? And everybody check out the Rob Wright Gen X pop culture channel right here at Rob Wright 5647. He does a lot of really great stuff, including talking about music. So I'm sure he'll probably do something for Ozzy. Sigvaldison says, very true. Back at Lockheed, he was normal for someone retiring to pass away. 6 months or less. Oh, yeah, I did read that one earlier. Perhaps we should release our eldritch god to mourn with us, said Sigvaldison. Oh, yeah, that would be a good idea. I don't see any kind of any kind of disadvantage if we did that, except that everything would be destroyed. I don't think it's a good idea, Sigvaldison. REM371 says, I love the time when they asked him about Justin Bieber and he said, what's a Bieber? Yeah. So it happened earlier in the stream, Sigvaldison, 2 minutes last time. Oh dear. I'll cut them out later for the replay. No, I'm not, James Caserta. Besides, he's got the keys. He can show up anytime he wants, but he knows not to show up until because he's busy. He's busy. James Caserta, you gotta quit it. Cut it out. Although I'm glad to see you here. We were wondering where you were earlier. All right. And so, yeah, he got a real second chance. Rod said so. Okay, Gavin, you're right. That's right. Ed got a second chance. It's real. Just like Captain America. The Twilight Zone looks like a fun place. Yeah, in some cases, when it's a happy ending like that one was a happy ending. Gavin's right. Best places in the Twilight Zone are post-apocalyptic libraries or cornfields, says Gavin. Well, yeah, no, that first one's my favorite episode, Gavin. There was time now. You see, I'm not so blind that if my glasses broke, I could find a comparable pair of glasses or just read with the book a little closer to my face. Greek Letters Larson. Hey, no, the show is not over. I've got another episode. But Greek Letters Larson says, tune in next week for a very special live stream where Jill will not only be solo, but also muted throughout the entire stream. Thanks. Yep. Downside? None found. Mhm. It's as real as Benny Hill's DS9. Oh my god, I know it's Benny Russell. I made a mistake. You guys will never let me live that down. My goodness. All right. All right. You happy now? Anyway, I think we're ready to talk about the next episode. So let's bring up those slides. So we've got the next one is called The Prime Mover. It was first aired on March 24th, 1961. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I brought in that song just so that Scotty would stop playing it on his phone. No, James Caserta, I mixed up Benny Russell from Deep Space Nine with Benny Hill. One day, and now that mistake will haunt me to my grave. All right, where am I? So the Prime Mover first aired on March 24th, 1961. It was written by Charles Beaumont, based on an unpublished story by George Clayton Johnson. So this was an interesting episode in terms of the writing, because Charles Beaumont says that he wrote it for his own show. And so he said it was a labor of love for a pilot script that he wanted to use, but it turned into this episode instead. And so, well, and how did this work? I guess Buck Houghton says, I think Beaumont's job was excellent, and I think the script is nigh on to perfect shape. I hope it's been memoed and all set to go. I can't think of a single criticism. And so, whether it was Beaumont's involvement in securing the legal rights or secretarial error, a production oversight was made, and George Clayton Johnson's name was omitted from the credits. I had to pitch the story first, recalled George Clayton Johnson in a phone interview with Terry Salamonson. Before I could do that, Charles Beaumont was a good friend, and he would take my stories and make the script and sell it. Later, he would tell Buck it was my story, and Buck took notice. I would tell Rod and Buck different stories, and most of the time they would shake their heads. No, no, George, why not this one instead? So I would suggest another story, and Buck would say, no, no, no. Buck would only hold those meetings once a month. So I gathered all my notions and notes, and I would pay him a return visit if he liked the idea, but wanted me to do something with it. I went back home and worked on it. That was how I got to write for the series. Charles Beaumont was the best. And Jerry Soule recalled in an interview with Steve Boyson, he was able to intimidate producers, something we all wished we could do. For example, he went to see a certain pilot. They were really anxious for him to write for the show. The first thing he said to the producer was, "You're what's wrong with television." That pilot was a pilot of okay, and then that's blanked out. I guess it's curse words. And anyway, a bit of it was written by George Clayton Johnson, and some of it was written by Charles, and the teleplay, of course, was written by Charles Beaumont. So it was, yeah. So it comes from George Clayton Johnson, and Beaumont wrote the telescript. Very good. I mean, George got paid for it, but he didn't get in the credits, basically. Oh, hey, welcome back, Penny. And it was directed by Richard L. Baer. And so we're back to film, since we have a director of photography. And we've got a cast here. Let's bring the cast into a title card so I can bring it up whenever I want. That's what I meant to do earlier. All I have to do is this. I have to delete this one and this one, and then bring in this image to help me out. Should be here. I don't see it. Where did I put it? Well, you know what? I can make it again. That's not too difficult. And we do that. And now we can do it. Just a moment. Where is that? Do we want to close that? Yeah, we want to close that one. And then we choose this. There we go. Now we can look at all the actors. Except for the bottom one. You can't see the bottom one. Desk clerk William Keene. Okay, well we'll worry about him if we need to. page. Now we can return to the beginning of this. We start at a Happy Days Cafe. So we start at a cafe. This cafe also serves beer. You see? Cold. Well, okay, you can't see because there's a big picture in front of it. So Happy Days Cafe. They serve cold beer. And actually, they serve a lot of things. They serve so many things. We got a hamburger for 30 cents, hamburger steak for 65 cents, ham and egg for 85 cents. Just multiply these things by 10 to get today's monies. So, yeah. But still, if it was ham and eggs for $8.50, that's really good. So we have Ace talking to a gambling machine like it's a girlfriend who owes him a good time. But it doesn't work for Ace. He's very, very unlucky. Ace is played by Dan Clark. Okay, so he has a name that I'm not sure I can pronounce. His birth name. Bernhardt Zanvilevitz. Zanvilevitz. He was born on February 26, 1912. And he called himself a Joe Average, I suppose. And he worked with Humphrey Bogart on a movie called North Atlantic. And he worked in he did some war I guess a war movie too. An Army Air Force training film. And he did lots of movies and TV stuff, so he kept very busy. But right here, he's busy trying to make some money on this Bell Fruit Gum slot machine. And he's still talking to the machine, very desperate to win, but he loses 2 times in a row. So, I know you were all thinking about it. So, according to the prop numbers on a production report, the slot machine is one of the many one-on bandits featured as a prop in that episode, but not the same one used in the mechanical monster from The Fever. So, this is a different one from the other one, the other slot machine. In the other gambling episode, The Fever. So Ace wants to gamble some more. He's going to get some more quarters, but he ends up trying to bet with this guy here. I don't know his name. This guy. Let's see. Let's see if I can figure it out based on what's here. He's not that one. Not that one. Oh, maybe he's the trucker. Clancy Cooper. That would be him. There it is. Okay, so this is Clancy Cooper. Hey, process of elimination works. And so there we go. Clancy Cooper. And well, and of course he loses this flipping a coin. He flips a coin with this man to get more money, but he loses. And Clancy Clark, the trucker, gets a quarter and he says, "Oh, this is a lucky quarter. I'm going to put it in the slot machine." And he ends up winning. Also, at this cafe, you can get a pie for 35 cents. And of course the trucker gets the jackpot. He hits the jackpot and Ace is left with nothing. Look at that. There's a jackpot of all those quarters. He's going to have a nice night. And Ace is just indignant. That was his jackpot. You know, he was supposed to put in that next quarter. And Kitty's going home. Kitty, so it's very unclear, but she's apparently his girlfriend. She said, she says she's going home, and is that a problem? And Ace says, I wouldn't blame you if you quit. Kitty says, I can't. You owe me 3 months' salary. Like, that's not very good. But what is good is hotcakes for 60 cents, coffee and donuts for 20 cents. They don't just like have a menu with all the prices. You have to go around this cafe and look at the different pictures. Pie, 35 cents. I like those little signs. So Kitty is played by Christine White, but you shouldn't forget her. Don't forget Christine White, because we're going to see her again later when we review Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, everyone's most anticipated episode. She was also in 50 different television series, including Bonanza, Have Gun Will Travel, The Rifleman, The Untouchables, The Fugitive, Perry Mason, and I guess several more. And yeah, she's going to play the William Shatner's character's wife. So that's going to be fun. And then, of course, we also... Oh, there you go. There's a better close-up of Kitty. Christine White. Then, of course, we've got Jimbo, played by Buddy Ebsen, who thinks Ace should marry Kitty. That he says he'll help financially get these two kids together. He was an American actor and dancer, known for his role as Jed Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies, as well as his title role in the detective drama Barnaby Jones. And what's the most you've ever lost on a coin toss? Says Gavin Blackburn. Oh, I don't know. It's like, how many 30-cent burgers is that? I just love all the signs of all the really great prices of food. It makes me hungry for some cheap food. So also we've got... Oh no, we're all caught up. That's good. Well, oh my gosh, she's done a lot. Oh, right. Epson, he also did obviously lots of Broadway stuff. And he also appeared as a dancer with Shirley Temple in Captain January. He was cast to be the Tin Man, as the glove cleaner says here. In The Wizard of Oz, he was almost going to be the Scarecrow, but before the filming started, his role was changed to the Tin Man. But he was really ill because of the aluminum dust in his makeup, and so he had to drop out. He literally couldn't breathe. And so he was replaced with Jack Haley, and they made the makeup much safer than what they put all over Epson. But you could still hear Epson's vocals sometimes in the soundtrack, in the reprises of "We're Off to See the Wizard." Oh, that's interesting. So you can still hear him as the Tin Man in the soundtrack in some bits. Epson complained of breathing problems from his involvement in that damned movie. And then he also was Davy Crockett's sidekick, George Russell. Oh, another Russell. In Walt Disney's Davy Crockett miniseries. Hmm. He was also he also helped animate Mickey Mouse's dancing in Silly Symphony's animated short films, which is cool. And in 1999, Epson provided the voice of Chet Elderson for an episode of King of the Hill. That was his last TV appearance. And so it is cool. This is, of course, in here in this episode, his name is Jimbo. Oh, Twilight Zone. Oh, Pythagoras. Great to see you. So, Ace is supposedly in a relationship with Kitty, but I don't really see any kind of romantic energy there. There's no, when you watch the episode, there's no flirtatious energy. There's nothing that tells you this is a strong relationship of two people who really like each other. It just, they use the pet names, but it's kind of surface level. And actually, these two characters on the screen right now were the only two. Dane Clark and Buddy Ebsen were the only two actors who showed up to rehearsal. But more importantly, here at this cafe, you can get a sandwich for 50 cents. And meanwhile, they both hear a car screeching outside. And so they all rush out to see what happens. You see a nasty car crash. This is a really well done car crash. Um, derby levels of awesome. Well, only awesome because nobody dies. It's one nasty looking car crash though. That's one of my biggest fears. You know, is a car crash. I don't like those. Everybody knows the physics of the matter. And to make matters worse, this isn't just a normal car crash. The car rolls into these electrical power station structures, and it looks like a fire is about to start, and all that electricity, it just can't be. It makes approaching this accident way more dangerous than a normal car accident. Luckily, it's not Kitty. Oh, and Pyratha says back then they didn't have seat belts neither. Either. Oh, I remember looking this up for Quantum Leap so much about seatbelts because they didn't wear seatbelts in Quantum Leap either all the time. So, what? Some cars in the 60s had seatbelts, but they weren't standard or required. So they didn't have to, so many just didn't include them. And most cars from 1960 to 1963 did not have seatbelts, so you're absolutely right, Pythagoras. And Pythagoras, that's not right. Pyrathus. They'd been invented, but nobody cared to actually use them yet. We had them, we just didn't use them, yes. If only I had a time machine, I'd go back to 1961 USA and get 30-cent burgers. Yeah, now they're, well, even if you transpose those prices to inflation, they'd be $3 burgers today. That's still amazing. If you get a cheeseburger and some french fries for $3, sign me up. I mean, and a good size burger too. Or lines on the road, says RVM 371. Oh, the history of infrastructure. So Ace is worried because he sees that there are people in this car, and Ace asks Jimbo to help him save these people. So this is the only point in this episode where I think, man, Ace is not such a bad person after all, because the things that he does in this episode are kind of really terrible. So this grounding of wanting to help the people in this car accident is the one shred of humanity afforded to Ace for this entire 20-minute episode. And so we're just going to enjoy that for a minute because that's about all we get. And anyway, Jimbo obliges. He thinks really hard and he flips the car right over and away from the dangerous electricity with his mind. So he's using this telekinesis to save the people in this car. And here's one interesting thing. In a lot of these episodes, I keep hearing lots of claims towards plagiarism because they're getting so ridiculous. And I keep skipping a lot of these claims in a lot of my reviews. I'd see someone say, "Oh, this is an idea that I had." And Rod Serling would be like, "Well, no, not really. This isn't very much like my story at all." And so he keeps having to fight these battles that are just so ridiculous, completely baloney claims. However, I'm going to read this one because it's finally addressing the story as such that these claims are typically baseless. So on April 11th, 1961, Serling received not one but two letters from Mr. Stanley F. Scaris claiming that the prime mover was possibly stolen from his idea. I want to bring to your attention the striking similarity between my short story and your presentation of the prime mover, shown on March 24th, 1961. The story I have sent you, The Powers That Be or Not to Be, was contained in my manuscript sent to Little Brown and Co. on January 28th, 1960. If you have purchased an identical story in Milwaukee or elsewhere from a person or persons other than Stanley F. Scaris, then the seller of this particular story is liable for fraud. If that be the case, I absolve you of all blame in this matter and would not hamper you with any court action. I wrote the short story prior to October 1st, 1951. And so Serling replied, I'm in receipt of your letter, April 11th, with your synopsis of your story, The Powers That Be or Not Be. You are obviously quite unaware of the copyright laws as they apply to material allegedly plagiarized. Insofar as the similarity between our presentation, The Prime Mover, and your short story, I first of all see only the vaguest similarity of theme. As a matter of fact, the whole era of telekinetic powers is a common one in literature and appears in literally hundreds of stories. Neither ours nor yours is unique in its approach of it. Once again, emphasizes the very non-sacrosanct aspect of the material. In addition, you must, of course, realize, Mr. Scaris, that we have no record of receiving your material, or indeed having any access to it, since there is no signed release in your name. It seems unquestionably that the case that your material was never sent to us. Of course, if you want to pursue this matter further through a lawyer, my own legal representation would be happy to respond with the necessary action. So, of course, no kind of legal action was actually filed against Rod Serling because, of course, it was all bullshit. But Serling was soon discovering, okay, so this is according to Unlocking a Television Classic. Serling was soon discovering that for every story presented on the program, someone wanted to claim suit for infringement. Houghton, Serling, and the rest of the staff were innocent of all the plagiarism claims, but this would become an increasing problem. And so I can see that the drama for that is just beginning. And here's the opening narration for this episode of a man who can save people with his he can move things with his mind. Portrait of a man who thinks and thereby gets things done. Mr. Jimbo Cobb might be called a prime mover, a talent which has to be seen to be believed. In just a moment, he'll show his friends and you how he keeps both feet on the ground and his head in the Twilight Zone. And so Jimbo saved all those people. Those injuries turned out to be not too serious. Wow, that's pretty miraculous. And Ace wants to know how Jimbo did it. Jimbo thought, at one point, Jimbo in his life thought everybody could do it, like breathing. But if that were true, he would have been found out much sooner. So clearly, he's gone through some kind of transformation to realize that, yeah, this is an extraordinary skill that other people do not have. Jimbo said, "Oh, it got me in a lot of trouble in school, and I started getting these real bad headaches after. But Ace wants a demonstration, so Jimbo lifts the bed. So now, of course, Ace figures he can use Jimbo to cheat at gambling. Seeing if Jimbo can flip a quarter to see what he wants it to be, he can do that. He flips tails to heads. He also changes an 8 on a dice roll to 7. And Ace says, "Oh, you big stupid jerk. We've been beating our brains out for 4 years working that crummy joint. We could have been living like kings." And even just as these small acts is giving Jimbo a headache. Ace calls Kitty to go on a short trip where she doesn't have to pack. She just needs to support Ace in his gambling. So that's all that is in that scene. Or Le Bistro, says Pyrathus. Thing is that back then, burgers and hot dogs were made with real beef. Wait, Whataburger makes their cheeseburgers with real Texas beef. So there's some exceptions to that, but you won't find that everywhere. Pyratha said, "I'd go back in time and tell them they're gonna pay $10 a burger in the future." When they brought in the seatbelt law in New Brunswick in 1980, says Canadian Spider-Man, it only applied to front seat passengers for the first couple of years until they realized the flaw. Japan was like that in 2004 too. That's the thing, yeah. So when I was a kid, obviously I was a kid in the 80s, so they had seatbelts, but the ones that went over your shoulder, across your lap and over your shoulder, were only in the front of the car, and in the back of the car, you had just these little straps that go across your waist, which are kind of pointless. Well, I mean, they're not completely pointless. I guess they'd help a little bit, but they're not as good as the ones with the shoulder strap. But nowadays, the front seats and the back seats all have the over the shoulder straps. So I don't know when that happened exactly. And yes, Gorilla, we do know that we lost the great and legendary Ozzy Osbourne. It's a crazy train. And yes, the glove cleaner, I did say bullshit. Yes. No, I'm tired of all these people writing stories and telling Rod Serling that he stole their stories just because they want a big payout from a successful TV show. Now, if it's really plagiarized, then I could understand. Like when we had Arena, and it was George L. Coon just remembered a story that he read, but he didn't remember that he got it from a magazine. Of course, they immediately gave credit to the proper people and paid them money. And that's the way to do it if the claim is true. But everybody so far calling into the Twilight Zone saying that Rod stole their story are have all been wrong. You can't steal an idea like telekinesis, says James Caserta, but only the expression of it. Yeah. Gavin Blackburn says bullshit is not an expletive. One of my teachers used to say it all the time and told us it was not swearing. Oh, really? Okay. Real Texas beef at Whataburger. I'm definitely moving ASAP. Yeah, yeah. We still get real beef there. That is one of the things they advertise. Glove cleaner was being silly. Oh, well, that's good. I'm so glad. Wait, is that 2 lottery tickets? Well, no. Gavin says it wasn't really cursing at all. It's up to you. But also up to you is saying hello to John the Beagle Dad. Hello. Hey. He's saying he misses Canadian Spider-Man on Steve's streams or Steve's stream. Wait, but which Steve? There are so many Steves. Yes, say hi to the new pup. Hey, new puppy. Yay. James Caserta says Star Trek had all kinds of copyright claims, problems, for some good reason. Yeah. Yeah, no, Star Trek did take stuff, but they very often real Star Trek would give credit. Or at least in Arena's case. Not in every case. There were some cases in TNG where you're like, hey, wait a minute, isn't this a Red Dwarf episode? And Red Dwarf did not get the credit. Oh, Rancor Steve. Okay, gotcha. Well, I don't know. I mean, Canadian Spider-Man's been really busy with his sailboat and everything, and also his accounting. Oh, Canadian Spider-Man says he's on tonight. Okay, well there you go, John the Beagle Dad. This is good news for you. And cheers. Last Tuesday was a party, and I was away the week before. So Canadian Spider-Man is now returning to the Rancor Steve show tonight. Let's get back to the episode now. If we can. I think we can. Yes, this is safe. And so they're going to go gambling with this newfound telekinetic powers that they've got. Why not? Let's go to Vegas. Well, I guess they were already in Vegas, but they're going to the strip. And they hop from casino to casino, the Golden Nugget and everything. And look at all those overlapping signs. The house of jackpot. And they hop from casino to casino, winning hundreds of dollars. Then, of course, thousands of dollars. And, of course, $100 in 1961 is about 1,000 now. So today he's starting at thousands and going into tens of thousands. Ultimately, he wins because it takes a while for you to find out how much he's won. He wins $200,000, which would be equivalent to $2 million today. So I had a time taking the screen caps of the first episode because it was so intricate, so deep, so engaging, and as one of the tenants said, psychological. But this episode, we're just gambling. It was so easy to do this episode. I screen capped this one a lot faster. Just a lot of overlaying signs, a montage of gambling, the flamingo, all the casinos that he's winning at. Ace is winning for the first time in his life. But we can see if we pay attention to Jimbo that Jimbo's not looking so good. He did mention that he gets headaches. They should stop. Kitty asks Ace to quit, and Jimbo doesn't look so good. He looks like he's about to collapse. And he finally does speak up that his headache hurts too much. And so I guess they do finally decide to cash in. And a cigarette lady shows up. He buys cigars and he overpays for them, giving her an enormous tip. But we don't know exactly how much he paid her. So all the boxes of money are carried to, I guess it's a hotel room suite. And if it was, yeah, it's too soon for him to buy a new apartment. So yeah, he's just booking a room with Jimbo's labor. And Jimbo lays down to relax. His headache is enormous. So I was expecting him to, yeah. This is the lead up to something. Definitely. And Kitty's going home. She can't believe Ace is trying to get Jimbo out of bed because he needs a rest. Especially if Ace wants to work him like that again. Jimbo just wants to sleep, but Ace asks Kitty to get some water and aspirin. Jimbo informs Ace that it's over. He can't do it anymore because it's cheating. He's feeling guilty. He doesn't like cheating. And this is getting to Jimbo's heart. He can't handle it too much. So Ace says that they can quit, but he wants one more night out of Jimbo. And Kitty disagrees. Kitty thinks he should quit and go home. And Ace is drunk with greed. Kitty says, "You've been very lucky. Think of all the money you've won, enough to last you for the rest of your life. Can't you leave well enough alone, honey?" Ace says, "Well, enough isn't good enough for me. Don't you understand? By tomorrow, I'll have enough dough to own this state. You understand that?" Kitty says that Ace is sick and she's leaving. And she says, "Look me up when you're through playing Little Caesar." And Ace says he's been too busy. He admits he's been too busy to pay attention to Kitty. She's run off. And Jimbo gives amazing advice. Jimbo is the good person in this show. A man should never be that busy. Why don't you go after her? Kitty's worth more than all the money in the world, isn't she? And Ace agrees, and he goes after her. But Kitty reinforces that she's not sticking around if he's going to keep gambling. So he's lost time with her for now if he decides to continue with his empire building ways. Jeez, man, it's only been a day and you've already gone off the deep end. This isn't exactly a breakup, but Ace is it definitely seems like he's in the doghouse with her. And Ace, but you know what? I don't really know that Ace ever actually loved Kitty. I didn't see any chemistry between them. And so not only that, what happens here is that Ace hires Sheila to be his good luck charm and to basically he pays for her to be his girlfriend. Like, I don't know how far he was gonna ever go with Sheila, but he basically does that. He basically buys her for $1,000 and more, promising more, obviously. But how much can he love Kitty when he can so very easily do that? And Sheila is played by Jane Burgess, who later goes on to play a blonde doll in the Mr. Ed episode. Yeah, okay. It makes sense that she could play a doll. They said, yeah, so Kitty and Ace, I don't buy Kitty and Ace. They say the pet names, but it's the most shallow, false relationship I've seen on the Twilight Zone. And Sheila doesn't believe that Ace is trying to actually hire her until he gives her $1,000, which of course in our money is $10,000. Imagine someone comes to you while you're working and says, "You can stop doing this job if I give you $10,000." And yeah, okay, where do I sign up? And she does. He even pays off the manager to hire Sheila, and the manager is played by Robert Riordan, who was also on an episode of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He should be showing up in just a second. There he is. There's the manager. And Ace is tired of playing with the small fries. He wants to know who the biggest gambler is. And that is Mr. Nolan. And Ace is not feeling so good. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's Jimbo who's not feeling so good. But Ace is sick, just as Kitty said. And I don't know about you, but in the 1960s, or in 1960s television, hiring a girl to be the one, your good luck charm that you nuzzle is, that's cheating, I think. So that's what's going on there. He essentially buys the cigarette lady. Great artist steal, says James Caserta. Really? That's like a big statement just to throw into the chat out of nowhere for no reason. And think alike. Oh no, that wasn't for no reason. It was because of everybody blaming Rod Serling for stealing their stories, but there was never any basis for any of those. $10,000. That's 30 million 30-cent burgers. Says Gavin. Oh my god. Oh dear, Gavin. Maybe even a little more. Canadian Spider-Man says, "Hey chat, if you would like words like bullcrap, then please consider subscribing to this channel. Also, we use words like antiderivative, anisotropy, as well as achromatic. Science and science fiction. I need to drink. Oh man, having a live stream by myself, I've got to talk the whole time. I need to drink some of my coffee." Okay, that's better. Hopefully. Let's see. Jill also said baloney, which was way more awesome. I didn't say baloney. Winning all that money in Vegas and the casino paying out? This really is the Twilight Zone. I know, Gavin. I was expecting security to come out because the house does not like losing. And if they lose too much, they become suspicious. I can't prove somebody's telekinetic, but I thought maybe they would find out. Probably a gangster girlfriend, not going to end well for him. Oh, very, very smart, Sigvaldison. Gangsters do play a part here. Not quite that, but you're really close. Well done. And so he's very happy about this. Jimbo hears the phone ring and brings it over to him with his powers. I would think since he gets a headache from it, he wouldn't really use his powers unless he really had to, but I guess he uses it whenever he wants. And on the phone is Phil Nolan because, well, what happened in the last scene is that Ace said, I want your biggest gambler that you have. I'm done with the small fry. And so he gets in touch with Phil Nolan, who Ace wants to gamble with. And Phil Nolan, Sigvaldison, is the gangster. So he's the gangster that we're gonna gamble against. And it's pretty difficult to like Ace at this moment. You gotta remember, oh yeah, he did care about those people in the car accident because he's just really scummy right now. So he wants to take his $200,000 and gamble them with Mr. Nolan, and he wants to bring Mr. Nolan and his friends to room 208. So yeah, let's fill the room with gangsters. This is a great idea. And Jimbo questions this, but Ace says that, he doesn't even register or even care about the danger. Ace is so delusional. He's very, very delusional. He says, you see, when it comes to gambling, these guys have their own code of honor. And so Jimbo's also worried about Kitty. But this is where Ace refuses to answer, as if Kitty didn't even exist anymore. He doesn't even acknowledge what Jimbo is saying about her. And to me, it means he never deserved either with money or without Kitty. But that's why I'm mad at the way this episode ends. Nolan insists they play with his dice. So now we're moving on to the actual game. Let's get a picture of Nolan first, because I got a few notes for him. Phil Nolan on the phone right now. And Jimbo kind of he is leery of this plan. And the gangsters show up, and Nolan insists they play with his dice. So, in adapting the story, this is from the companion. Beaumont retained Johnson's basic plot, but added a love interest and a Chicago gangster named Phil Nolan. This was a in joke from Beaumont on his friend William F. Nolan. And in the original, the pair make their winnings at various local crap games. But Beaumont knew that it would be better if they went to Las Vegas, and that would be more dramatic tension. And so, Nolan is played by Nesden Boy Booth. He was in over 100 films and TV shows, lots of things. He had a recurring role as Frank the bartender in the American Western series Cimarron City. And he did lots of bit stuff, lots of westerns, The Twilight Zone, obviously, Gunsmoke Bonanza, Tales of Wells Fargo, Father Knows Best, Man with a Camera, and Perry Mason. And so again, we get the same montage music we got when Ace was cheating at the casino, and now he's cheating this gangster. And of course, you get that classic line. Jimbo says, Ace, there's something that it's that classic. It's classic in the sense, Jimbo is trying to tell Ace something important, but Ace won't listen and decides to bet it all, bet everything. Jimbo tries to stop him again, but Ace rolls. And at this point, he's still winning. But then, of course, he decides to bet it all. And Ace rolls. And he finally loses. And with that, he loses all of the money. Mhm. And now he has to face with that. He has to face that. Jimbo says, Ace, look, I'm sorry, but I was trying to tell you something happened. I lost the power. I guess a fuse blew out. And Ace starts to laugh about it so much, and so does Jimbo. And this is apparently the prescription that Jimbo filed for Ace. Ace seems to be turning over a new leaf for the better. He gets rid of the gambling machine he had in the cafe. So we're supposed to believe he's been redeemed for his previous actions. Then Ace, well, and at this point, everybody's still like, oh no, you lost your money. We're all going to leave now. Well, at least Sheila's going to leave. She's not going to stick around. They're like, we're not really going to the wherever. I forget where she said. They didn't have Coldplay concerts back then, so it was somewhere else. Oh, it's in the transcript. I can find it. And it was some place that she wanted to go. I usually have the transcripts opened up during the live stream, but for whatever reason I don't. And here's where he's laughing maniacally. See. Fuse blue. That's how I'm gonna find it in the script. Alright. And then go back to where we were. And we should be able to find it. There it is. And so at the end of the episode, he stops gambling. He gets rid of the slot machine. And then Ace proposes to Kitty. He doesn't get down on one knee, but he proposes to her. And it does seem, I don't know if she knows anything about Sheila or not. But Kitty flips a coin and she says, tell me heads or tails. And he says heads. And she very clearly is hiding the result of the coin. I very much believe that he lost the bet. But she says yes anyway. And they hug and kiss for the first time in the whole episode. Hopefully he really has changed, but I don't know for sure. Then, of course, the reveal is that Jimbo picks up this broom with his mind to prove that he still had powers all along and was responsible for Ace losing the $200,000, which was making him an asshole anyway. Although it also revealed his true colors, so hopefully everything's going to be okay. I don't know for sure. Well, anyway, I guess they'll have a happy, though not completely honest, ever after. And the closing narration says, some people possess talent, others are possessed by it. When that happens, the talent becomes a curse. Jimbo Cobb knew right from the beginning, but before Ace Larson learned that simple truth, he had to take a short trip through the Twilight Zone. And before I get back to the chat, I want to read the preview for next week's story. Next week, Mr. Charles Beaumont and Mr. William Idelson deliver a story on your doorstep with the title Long Distance Call. It's uniquely a flesh and fantasy tale involving a small boy, a toy telephone, and the incredible faith of a child. I hope you're around next week at the usual time, which, depending on where you are, varies, and in the usual place, the one that never varies, the uncharted regions. of the Twilight Zone. Also, next week, we're going to talk about another episode. Next week, you'll ride up front in this wagon on a trek west. Your itinerary is across the Great Plains, over the Rockies, to a point in New Mexico, and you'll ride alongside Mr. Cliff Robertson in a strange tale of a handful of American pioneers who made a detour in time and found themselves one afternoon on the fringe of the future. Our story is called 100 Yards Over the Rim, and believe me, it's quite a view. I hope we'll see you then. And my those are the previews for next week. Those are going to be the stories, Long Distance Call and 100 Yards Over the Rim. So that'll be fun next week. I'm always interested to see what the Twilight Zone has to offer each week. So which episode did you like better? If you've not voted in the poll yet, you've got a couple of minutes to do so now. I'm going to read over the chat, and when I'm done reading the chat, I will close the poll. So, do you like static about the nostalgia of media that's going extinct, but you found a certain device that lets you experience it live again? Or the prime mover, where your greed overtakes you and you take advantage of a friend's talents to cheat at gambling, and then you don't actually learn any lesson. You're just kind of cut off from it by your friend who knows better. Okay, maybe the fact that he gets rid of the slot machine from his cafe is supposed to be that he did learn a lesson, but I'm not so sure. Maybe I shouldn't be so pessimistic in the Twilight Zone. Maybe I judge. Am I judging Ace too harshly? What do you think? Let's see what the chat thinks. And winning all that money in Vegas and the casino paying out. Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with you on that one, Gavin. I was blown away by that. And Old Man Bird says, I am subscribed, especially for that word, anti-derivative. I don't know. I could. Okay. James, I see you're a fan. I am too. Sigvaldison says, Vegas was mobster controlled, especially then. Gavin also says, they're all going to fall out of the window. Oh my god, Gavin, I forgot about that one. That was the other episode. What was that one? Episode of the Twilight Zone where everyone falls out the window. Oh, why can't I remember? Oh, the camera. The most unusual camera. I just had to think about it. I don't need to look it up. Old Man Bird says, James Caserta, that's an effect of the quantum entanglement you mentioned last week. Yeah. Women are luxury items, James Caserta says. Ace is a piece of shit individual. You heard it here first. Yeah. Agreed. I don't like him. These guys are going to bury you 40 miles outside of Vegas. Yeah, right. If he won, you know what? Jimbo saved his life by making Ace lose. Because if he would have won, what Sigvaldison is saying right here is exactly what would have happened. That was silly. Again, before folks get all beside themselves. William F. Nolan was a sci-fi writer. Yeah, and so the gangster was named after his friend William F. Nolan. They don't eat. Oh yeah, that's right. You must have been reading the subtitles. Did I have subtitles for this one? No, I didn't. You must know this episode because that's the gangster. That's what the gangsters say. We don't eat. They don't eat. No more boom boom. No more boom boom. RBM 371 says, Jill, just a heads up. I have to do a meds pickup at the top of the hour in case I don't get back. Enjoyed your show, as usual. But sorry I crashed it with Ozzy. Well, no, but it's very important. Hey, life, death is a part of life. And you shouldn't feel bad about sharing that information. And especially since Ozzy is very important to many of us in terms of anyone who loves rock and roll, basically, should probably also love Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know, unless you're not a big fan of his music or Black Sabbath, but I don't know anybody who isn't. Um, Gavin says a most unusual camera. Yes. Amanda Hug and Kiss? You got me to say it. I feel like that's a Gorilla's Random Thoughts joke. Although he's not here right now. Okay, so that's the chat. So oh no, the chat crashed. Let me refresh it. And so I can close the poll. Everybody pick the prime mover. So you guys like the telekinesis. You guys like having the guy from Beverly Hillbillies having telekinetic powers to allow his jerk ass friend to win a gambling. I preferred static, but because I like the nostalgia of it. The Twilight Zone is really good at stepping into the past and reliving things that you want to relive. I don't know. It's just a good time. And so I'm gonna end the poll for that. Zardozy says James Custer. I like Zardoz. Zardoz pretty great. So yeah, I just really love those episodes. I prefer static. We love the 30-cent burgers and the 35-cent pie. Oh, that's it. That's it. Because throughout the episode, I would describe part of the episode, and then I'd see a sign 20 cents, coffee and donuts. I thought those signs were so much fun. I enjoyed that a lot too. But I don't know. I guess maybe static seems more depressing in comparison to, oh, let's go have fun in Vegas and gamble and eat 30-cent burgers. I get it. I think I get it. I guess walking distance is a better version of better time travel Twilight Zone if you want to talk about an old man reliving his past. And it's it's better to go on a merry-go-round than listen to the radio. But I don't know, I think it has some value. And but it is a recurring feeling that you feel like, that you might have missed out on something, or you might have static tells you that, to try not to miss out on the opportunities that come to you because you might regret it. And I don't know. I think it's a little more interesting watching it. And well, I just couldn't imagine living with the love of my life for 20 years in the same boarding house and not doing something about it. Yeah, hold on. Although I guess in both episodes they're both kind of jerks because I mean, I don't think Dean Jagger, Ed Lindsay was not any nicer than Ace, really. I mean, he was given a little bit more empathy, but it was kind of hard to connect with him emotionally. I can see that too. He was kind of abrasive. And let's see, let me rethink that one. Maybe do I like No, I do think I like Static better. But the prime mover, let's see. I do like telekinesis. One of my favorite childhood movies is Matilda. But I think the prime mover shouldn't be compared to Static. It should be compared to the Fever because they're both the Las Vegas episodes. And I would think the Fever was better. It was kind of like a PSA about gambling, but it was really good. And then the prime mover was, of course, you got some telekinesis. And well, the main likable character isn't Ace. It is his friend who can do the telekinesis. Is Jimbo. Jimbo was kind of like, he's doing this for his friend, but he's also like, "Are you sure you should be doing this? Is this the best idea? This feels like cheating." And so he keeps trying to talk him out of doing this, but still supports him anyway. And I guess also this episode still lines up with the rule that the house always wins. Hmm. They were good. I enjoyed them. 30-cent burgers. Those were the times. This is Greek letters, Larson. The heart in conflict with itself. And the glove cleaner says, too late. Bill Moomies on next week episode get Jedi on. Well, well, uh, he's always welcome if he wants to ask to be on. It's up to him to tell me that he wants to be on. So Gavin Blackburn says telekinesis was in one of the greatest Red Dwarf episodes in the Despair Squid with Mr. Fibble. Oh, the Despair Squid. That was pretty good. That was very, very good. Yeah, Red Dwarf. I might want to talk about Red Dwarf one of these days. Maybe soon. But for now, that's all for this time in the Twilight Zone. Thanks again for everyone being so amazingly insightful in the panel and the chat. I thought by myself I wouldn't be able to fill out much time, but the chat, you guys, all of you, Gavin and Glove Cleaner, Greek Letters, James Caserta, Brogu, RVM371, you all really filled out the conversation and made it much better than it would have been if I were just here alone. So you were here with me. Thank you so much. Jed Clampett, what is Ellie Mae doing? Says the old man bird. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Sigvaldison. It was good hanging out with you too, Lemon Pie. Lemon Pie and Canadian Spider-Man. I hope you can get your work done before you play later. That's a good goal, right? Get your work done before the Rancor Steve show tonight. And then John the Beagle Dad, I hope the puppy is doing well. learning how to be a, a good dog, getting his training in. And Gorilla, yeah, it's great that Gorilla stopped by too. And Pyrathus was our Rumble representation. I'm glad we had somebody from Rumble today. If I had a time machine, I'd go back to 1961 and get 30-cent burgers. Well, you know what? Yeah, I do like 30-cent burgers because I guess in the first episode, everyone just wanted to talk about how disgusting holodecks were. So I could see why the Prime Mover was the preferred episode for the audience. I validate your choices, guys, even though I disagree. You can't beat a tasty burger. RVM371, thank you. And thanks also to Rob Wright's Gen X Pop Culture for having been here. It was good to see you drop by. Ooh, and I only muted myself 2 times. 3 minutes total. I can cut that out in post. That's not a problem. I think this was a success. Yes, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. I'll cry about that later. I know I will. But for whatever reason, when I'm streaming, I'm usually able to hold myself together. Anyway, thank you, FKHC 2005. Thanks for being here. And Daniel's Hot Topics. I'm gonna go listen to a bunch of songs when I go pick up my children in a bit. I'm gonna wonder why I'm playing nothing but this one guy. So that's what I'll do. I'll listen to a ton of Ozzy in just a bit. Thanks to Brogu. I think I said thank you to him already. Thank you to Booger. And of course the glove cleaner. DJ Play Nice is awesome. The Trek reviewer, amazing. The Shrek reviewer and Daniel's Hot Topics, keeping me honest about dishonest Star Trek. Swift -1 was here too. Great. And also, of course, Penny. I hope your grandchildren are doing great. And Jinx, Washer. Jinx was here. Jinx was here. I'm so sorry Jinx was here. 1256. I don't know why I was calling you Jinx Washer. Oh no. I hope you can forgive me if you're still here. But yes, Jinx was here. 1256. I'm almost at the top. Might as well get to the beginning, right? If I start the scrolling and the scrolling doesn't take too long. I've got a couple of minutes, of course. Thank you to Scotty R37 for jumping in the chat and saying hello to us for a bit. And also thank you to everyone who listens on the replay or who has been lurking the entire time. I appreciate all of you, and I understand some of you are very, very busy and cannot be in the chat because then that would be a whole big deal. And you got to treat this as an actual radio show, which I think is really, really cool. Miss Sparkles was here too. Where are all the pieces? The pieces. Did I lose the pieces? Oh, crap. Did I drop them? I don't know what happened. All right, anyway. Thanks, guys. And Brogu says, gotta go. Enjoy the rest of your week, Jill and everyone. This is the way. That's what Riker said in the holodeck. Bye. Yes, of course. Of course, Riker would do that. Yay to the chat. Have a drink, everybody. Yeah, I have my coffee right here. Although I think I know what kind of drink you're talking about. I have to go collect my children before I can think about that kind of drink. Bye, Gavin. Yeah. Scotty is accessory ornamentation. No, I'm kidding. I'd love to come on soon with you both. He's a gem. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the glove cleaner. I was quoting Pulp Fiction. Now that's a tasty burger. Cheers for being here, chat. Thanks for all of your support. And Canadian Spider-Man says, our show tonight is only on Rumble. FYI, Steve had it with YouTube bullcrap. With axes and chainsaws, etc. Although, doesn't he still show up on YouTube to play with his Legos? I think he does. And so, subscribe to Doomcock. Yeah, the Jill Notes bot wants you to know. I can't ignore my bot. Absolutely. Tomorrow's pop culture breakdown. That should be fun. He's going to talk about Inception. Inception's a really cool movie. Very reflective, very psychological, philosophical. But thanks again. That's all for this time in the Twilight Zone. Yeah, Canadian Spider-Man says there's usually no chainsaws when playing with Lego. So yeah, so you're usually safe. If there are chainsaws involved, then you have been very creative with your Lego play. But that's all for this time in the Twilight Zone. Thanks again for everyone being amazing and awesome. And I can't wait to see you again next Tuesday in the Twilight Zone. I'll do something on Friday. So stay tuned to whatever I decide to do then. Have a wonderful day. And see you later. Catch you at the end. Take it easy. Yeah, see you later. See you later, Cam. And Trev Retro has just started his breakdown of Logan's Run. Oh, no kidding. Okay. Wait a minute. I can put that in the chat for you guys if anybody wants a link to that. We'll put that in there. Trev Retro. Logan's. Oh, well, it's right on top of my list because I love that channel. So I didn't have to look far. Logan's Run. Oh, I love that movie so much. It's hard for me to figure out how to get on that show sometimes, but man, Logan's Run, that's a classic forever. So I'll catch you guys later.
Learn all that is learnable.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
We don't have to be mean. Because, remember, no matter where you go,